How are we going, guys? And today we're going to be talking about the financial planning industry's blanket 4% retirement rule. A lot of people still believe in this rule. It's been around for many, many years, but it's something that fuddy-duddy financial planners want you to believe so that you can put your faith in them, give them all your money. And it shows you that if you wanted to retire on $100,000 in 20 years' time, you're going to need over $4 million, which absolutely is ridiculous. So let's have a look at what that 4% rule is. So how it actually works is you take what you want in retirement. Let's just say it's $100,000, and then you multiply that by 25, and that gives you the amount that you need in terms of your portfolio value. And then you can withdraw 4% a year to get that $100,000. Okay, but let's have a look at it in a general sense. 4% is an awfully low number. And then if we're looking at what type of assets we're putting it into, we've got capital growth assets that we might not be using for many, many years. So then there's tax implications, obviously, once we sell them as well. So I think the strategy is there can be a little bit more thought around it. And I want to show you how you don't need $3.9 or $4 million to retire on $100,000, inflation adjusted in 20 years' time. And what you can do is you can retire on massively more than that with very, very simple strategies. And it's going to cover some cash flow strategy as well. But let's talk about what this 4% is. So I'm going to jump in and just show you a bit of an example on how it actually works. So as you can see here, I just set up a spreadsheet so that you can see it pretty simply. And on the left here, we've got the 4% rule, years until retirement. So we've got today and then year 2 right through to 30 years. And we're just going to choose 20 years from today and retiring on $100,000. Now, if we want to retire on $100,000 today, that's fine. But every year that we delay retirement, we have inflation. Inflation targets between 2 and 3%. A little bit higher now, it was lower. But if we use 2.5%, it'll give us an idea of what we actually need. So in 20 years' time, if you want to retire in 20 years' time on $100,000 as of today's money, you're going to need $159,865. And that, when we multiply by 25, gives us $3.996 million. So $4 million that we need to retire on 100 grand, which is bloody ridiculous. So if we were having a look at that $3 million or $4 million, let's just use now a situation with a couple. Let's just say they have $200,000 in super, because we know we've still got 20 years of contributions to super, and they earn $130,000 combined. And then your situation might be different. I'm just using an example here. So let's just say they have $130,000. Okay, and we'll just format this just so we've got okay, so we've got 130,000 in combined income. We've got 200,000 in superannuation. So now we just want to have a quick look and see what position we're going to be in, what it's going to actually take to get you to this $3.9 million. So let's have a quick look at here. So 3.9, I'm just going to go 4 million to make it easy. It's only pretty close. Okay. So $4 million, if we were starting from scratch, which we're not, but just give you an example, and if we're getting capital growth of around 7%, we're going to have to, retire in 20 years, we're going to have to contribute $7.5 to $7,600 a month. And that's us investing that money every single month into something that grows at 7%. That's ridiculously unaffordable for 99.9% of people. But obviously we don't have to hit this 4 million because we've got 200,000 in super and we've also got some contributions. So let's say we've got 200,000, as we said. I'm not sure why I re-entered that, but what we want to do is we actually want to calculate the amount of superannuation contribution. So we're on 130,000, and I know how to do it 10% of it, but I'm showing you just so you see it. $13,000. Pay the 15% tax and super divided by 12. So we've got $920 a month going into super for employment contributions. So that means our 200,000 in super, and super's a little bit lower, so we'll say it goes up by about 6%. At $920 a month, or they put it in quarterly, that works out as an average. We've got $1,087,000. Okay, so what we've got, $1,087,000. So we've got $4 million, $1,087,000. So we need $2.9 million. So that means for us to retire on $3.9 million with the general financial planning 4% conservative rule, we actually need to contribute $5,591 every single month into an investment that grows at 7%. That's $67,000 of $130,000. So it's over 50% of your gross. That's not in taking into consideration tax. So it's probably sitting around 70% to 80%, depending on your tax rates individually, which is not affordable. So the fact, if we just come back here to this spreadsheet here, so the super balance at retirement, we'll work it all out and we'll put these figures in. So the super balance at retirement, we said, was $1,087,000. So the new shortfall, I believe, was 2.9 million, 2,913,000. And the investment was 5,591 a month. All right, 5,591, 5, there we go. I thought it wasn't that. There we go. We get our 67. Perfect. 5,591. So that's our situation. So if you're sitting there and going, okay, well, I don't have that much super, well, this amount that you need to invest will be higher. If you don't have a combined salary of over 130,000 or more, your superannuation contribution is going to be less. You can look at strategies to top up your super and those sorts of things, but whether or not you top up your super and save a little bit of tax, it's still not going to get you to that $3.9 million. And this demoralizes a lot of people. And this is why I hate financial advisors. Not hate them personally, I hate the industry. They're basically middlemen taking money from you to put into a markets. And then they've got to quantify themselves by coming up with these strategies that you go, oh, well, I can't achieve that. Oh, well, with my help, we can get as close as we can. And then they put you in managed funds, which cost even more. If we look at simple strategies, let's just use, and again, if you haven't watched the video, I'm not going to go into detail in specifics of this strategy. I went into a little bit more detail with a video the other day, and it's called, I think, a property cash flow investing strategy. It's about 13 minutes of going into an investment strategy, investing in multi-units on one dwelling, and we invested in 2 properties to give us $108,000 in income. So if we have a look at that cash flow investing strategy, investing in 2 multi-unit property cash flow positive properties at $500,000 each, and we use the debt reduction strategy that we train in our course through the MiTCHi Money software as well, we would have it paid off in 20 years. And at 8% yield, inflation adjusted, it gives us $108,000 a year. Now, that under 108,000 is less than 159,000, but let's have a look at it. And just remember, with this strategy here, with this strategy 2, we didn't kick in anything at our own pocket. Yes, you might have to come up with a deposit and cash deposit for your first property, or if you've got equity, you could use it, and then you'd absolutely cost you nothing out of your own pocket. But this strategy is a 20-year, zero out-of-pocket on maintenance investment strategy to give you over 100,000 in income. Look, if you bought a third property, you could have potentially 150, and you would have already hit your retirement goal. But we're just going to use the strategy because I went through it the other day. So what we want to do is work out a new shortfall income per year. So that's just taking our 159,000, which is it's our $100,000 today's value in 20 years time, and we take off our 108,000. Oops, excuse me. Put the minus in. There we go. So we still need $51,865. So we need to work out what super balance is actually needed. And when I mean super balance needed, so with this, I'll show you. So we need to bridge that gap by giving us an extra 51,000. So what we want to do is have a look at our nets. Here we go, 51,000. We said. I think it was 51. Let's just double check. 51,865. Let's make it accurate. So here we go. So let's just say 51,865, and let's just say super grew at 6%. We're using the same figures that we've used over here, 6% growth. Okay, but this tells us what we need our super balance to be. So our super balance needs to be $1,077,000. Super balance needed is $1,077,123. I'll explain it for you in a sec. Let me just format these quickly. There we go. So We're trying to create 159,000. We've got 108,000 from our multi-unit dwelling investment portfolio, which costs us nothing in our own pocket. We use a 20-year debt reduction strategy. Again, if you had 30 years, you can see how easily it would be to retire on $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, and it's not unrealistic at all. But again, if you've got like 5 years to retirement, there's still a few little strategies you can use, but you might have to look at some of your figures a little bit closer and working a bit longer, those sorts of things. So we need $1,077,000 in super to give us $51,000 in income a year. And then we've got 108,000. So that's our total amount that we've got, but we still need to come up with 1,077,000. So what's our actual super balance at retirement? And it's over here, 1,087,000. So I'll just go back and show you how we did that. So 1,087,000. So we've got 200,000 in super at the moment. We're contributing $920 a month or per quarter. Our employer at 10% of our income, 130,000 combined for two people. 20 years until retirement, we need 1,087,000. So we're just going to copy that value across. So let's have a look at our. So look, our net position is $10,000 more. So it's basically bang on. So let's have a look at the two strategies. One strategy, if you use the financial advisor's ridiculous comments of the 4% rule, you need to come up with $4 million. And that's going to cost you $5,500 or $5,600 a month, or nearly $70,000 a year out of your income, which is unachievable. So that's when you go, oh, well, I might have to work till a little bit later. No, that's not the case. You can actually retire very, very easily. So this one here, this strategy here, zero out of pocket for your cash flow investing strategy. Zero out of your pocket for your super balance. So this is actually costing you nothing. So your 130,000, as long as you could finance the investment properties with equity, or you might have to save a deposit first for your first one, it costs you nothing again your entire life. Again, if you wanted to contribute to the strategy, you could just either one, retire earlier. So if you go, oh, I want to retire in 16 years, 17 years, okay, you might have to kick a little bit of cash in, or you can retire with more money if you kick it in. So for example, our super balance, if we actually just contributed an extra, let's just say, $200 a week into our super balance. So we've got an extra, say, 10,000. So it's 1628. We're going to retire 1/4. So that gives us an extra $400,000 in retirement, which again puts you on a higher income. Or you can retire a couple of years earlier if you wanted to. So that gives you a really good idea of how, look, just don't believe the financial planning industry. It's how they suck you in. The 4% rule is a blanket. I see it all the time on these TikToks on Instagram where they go, oh, how to calculate your retirement income. If you want 100,000, multiply it by 25. If you want 159,000 for this example, multiply by 25, you need 3.9 million. Well, no. That's great if you live in at the end of the 1980s or the early 1980s, when we came off a 12-year bear run where the markets had been depressed for many years. Inflationary pressures were enormously high. But in today's market, no, you don't need it. And historically has proven that 4% is a ridiculous annotation to use when it comes to retirement, because it deflates people's sense of being able to achieve it. Two, demoralizes people because who can afford $67,000 a year into an investment strategy? It's unaffordable. We prefer to do with MiTCHi Money through our perfect retirement blueprint is working out what you need in retirement, and then we implement strategies like this, where we look at it in a really individual basis and go, okay, well, look, based on our situation, this is what we need. We can't contribute the amount to get to our capital growth. So let's supplement our capital growth with cash flow strategy, bring that income down. Then look at our super. Can we hit the other side with super? Because super's got some restrictions on accessing it based on your age, those sorts of things, which is completely fine. Because if you've got a cash flow strategy outside of super giving you income, and then your super tops you up a little bit later in life, then that's completely okay as well. So these things that you need to look at. Hopefully, look, I wanted to keep this video below 15 minutes for you. Hopefully it was really valuable and you can understand why I can't stand the 4% rule. It just covers everything with a blanket, and that's definitely not the way to achieve things. But look, if you're looking at what your figures are and you're wondering, well, what can I do to implement our perfect retirement blueprint? Jump onto MiTCHiMoney.com/perfect retirement blueprint, or I'll put the link down the bottom. And look, it's $9, and you get a couple of hours worth of training. You get our wealth plan that you can put together. You get access to these calculators and tools that I use on these videos as well, so that you can put in your own figures and work your way through the perfect retirement blueprint. And I guarantee you it's worth 100 times what you're paying. And then from there, we can look at ways to help you implement some of those strategies that we talked about in strategy 2 in a lot more detail. All right, thanks very much and have a great day.